Just after 5 o'clock on Wednesday, the 16th of April, 8 days out from the 2025 NFL Draft. And you know how it goes. It's typically slow as molasses leading into that. And that's kind of been the case regarding the Ravens, aside from yesterday's pre-draft press conference. But we do have some insight to kind of comb through from NFL Network's Ian Rappaport as it relates to Mark Andrews, the candidate that he is to potentially be traded coming up next year, next week. Who knows? But clearly, as he enters the final year of his contract, and the Ravens have a number of tight ends that are in that predicament, Isaiah Likely, Charlie Colar, and not to mention Pat Ricard as the fullback, there could potentially be some decisions that are looming. So that and more, including Chris Collinsworth, Ravens mock draft pick at 27 overall, is what I have coming up. As always, welcome inside the channel. I'm Bobby Trosset. Today is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. Courtesy of them, I've been driving around in my 2023 Bobby Baltimore Broncos Sport, which has been an exceptional ride, an awesome experience. I'll tell you more about that in just a bit. If you could on the way in, please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. But let's begin with this, and that is Ian Rappaport talking earlier this week on NFL Network. His response, really, the way that he reacted to Eric DeCosta's comments. As a matter of fact, let's make sure we do this chronologically. First and foremost, Eric DeCosta, non-committal on Mark Andrews' imminent future in Baltimore entering draft weekend, which, of course, is coming up on the 24th. This was yesterday from the pre-draft press conference at One Winning Drive, if you missed it.
Oh, man. I never know what's going to happen, Jeff. And I would never want to say this or that, but I can tell you this. Mark Andrews is a warrior, and he's played his butt off for us. And his competitiveness, his talent, his attitude, his leadership is so valued here. And he's a great player. And I think we're in the business of keeping as many great players as we can. So there's always a lot of unpredictability with the draft. You just never know.
Happy birthday, James. Happy 28th birthday. But, of course, you've probably heard those comments by now. I never know what's going to happen. I would never want to say this or that, but I can tell you this. Mark Andrews is a warrior, and he's played his butt off for us. We're in the business of keeping as many great players as we can. There's a lot of unpredictability with the draft. You just never know. This, of course, comes after John Harbaugh's comments in Indianapolis that basically all but confirmed he certainly hopes and expects that Mark Andrews will be a Raven come 2025. As for Eric DeCosta, taking perhaps the gamemanship route instead, entering draft weekend, because let's be honest, if his phone rings and it's a compelling offer on the other end of that call, you better believe they're going to listen. Now, Ian Rappaport's reaction to what you just heard there, again, Eric DeCosta's comments from yesterday, was this from Rap Sheet.
I may give it that it is very, very much up in the air. And, GMs talk about balls being in the air, right? And the reason they say that is because a lot of things that could happen. You have Isaiah Likely, really good young player, emerging young player who, when Andrews was not on the field, looked like a number one tight end. Going to make just $3 million next year. Teams generally like to lock up these kind of players to long-term lucrative extensions, make sure they're taken care of, and move on from there. Andrews has been there. This was Mark Andrews several years ago before he signed a huge, huge deal right before the season. Now, Andrews do $11 million. No doubt he's going to have some trade value in a draft when there's not maybe a ton of really, really good high-level tight ends. I wouldn't be surprised, based on what I'm hearing here, Mike, if some team does come in and make an offer the Ravens can't refuse, even though it is very clear Mark Andrews means a lot to them, and they really, really value the person and the player.
That from Ian Rappaport earlier this week. I don't think there's any really disagreement, I would think, within Raven circles, NFL circles, that Mark Andrews doesn't have trade value. Of course, he's got trade value. And look at what he's done since entering the league. He is on a list of 3. And the other 2 on this list receive a whole lot more publicity than he does, probably because of the markets that they play in. And that is Travis Kelce in Kansas City Not that Kansas City's a huge market, but because of what they've become, the football mecca, the powerhouse that has been the Kansas City Chiefs, and George Kittle in San Francisco. Mark and those two players, the three of them, since 2018, are the only tight ends with 5,000 receiving yards and 40 receiving touchdowns. And Mark himself is coming off a career best 11 total receiving touchdowns last year. And that was after limping out of the front gate, limping out statistically, and perhaps limping out physically because of that car crash that didn't get nearly as much attention and coverage as it probably deserved, maybe because they kept it buttoned up in terms of how severe it was. Kyle Van Noy, just to look back at what he shared from his perspective as Mark's teammate during his Yahoo Sports podcast. This was in season.
Training camp, there was 6 of us, including myself, that got into car accidents. It was wild, actually. Yeah. So I got in one, and Mark got in one. Mark's was really scary. I'm grateful. You know, he was kind of spooked after his. It was kind of scary hearing the details and all of that. It was scary. So it was like good he was there, and then he was battling an injury. So a lot of people were hating on him at the beginning, you know, trade him. He's washed, blah, 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 blah. Now look. Now who's talking? I had to shout out Mark for his 48th touchdown. He leads the Ravens organization. He is the king of the touchdown with the Ravens. Shout out to Mark Andrews. So happy to be his teammate. I love Andrews. That's my guy, and I love his speeches because you already know what type of time Mark Andrews on. He's going to let you know what type of time it is, and it's always good to play with players like that.
You heard Kyle. Not only was he building up Mark during that podcast episode, but he was clear to refer to the car crash itself as scary. Not scary enough to keep Mark away from, again, having a productive season. Were his receiving yards down from where he typically is? Of course. Here were the numbers right here. 2024, 17 games played. He was healthy for the most part. He was targeted 69 times. He had 55 receptions, 673 receiving yards for an average of 12.2 per catch and 11 total touchdowns, which again is a career best for him, a single season career best. And not to mention, he went on to become the all-time receiving yards leader in Ravens history. So was it receiving yards leader or receiving touchdowns? Let me get that. Oh, what was it? Was it yards or touchdowns? Because I know he eclipsed Todd Heap. Oh, man. Of course, I don't have this off the top of my head. Let me make sure I get this, guys. Yeah, okay, he became the Ravens' all-time leader in receiving touchdowns. Receiving touchdowns. Thank you very much. Hopefully Google AI was correct. Receiving touchdowns. Chat's got me covered. Thank you very much. I know. Off-season Bobby. Not the most accurate ever. But where I'm going with this is that Mark still had a super productive year, even though, statistically speaking, it was below his standards. And he was finding a way to grind through what was a grueling aftermath of a serious car crash. That, combined with how difficult of an offseason I'm sure it's been, being the role that he played in that loss in the divisional round in Buffalo, I get the sense that Mark's going to come guns a-blazing this year. And should he be a Raven come September, look out. The guy's going to be on a vengeance tour, a revenge tour. And while that'll never be categorized as such by him or probably anybody in that locker room, I know the way that Mark's wired. I had a great chance to get to know him personally through my early years in the Ravens radio team that gave me access on a seasonal basis to one winning drive. And this guy is built differently. He's wired in a way that is so workmanlike that I get the sense that his perseverance, his relentlessness will push through. And should he be a Raven, right? If a compelling call isn't compelling enough, even if there is a call next weekend when the draft kicks off, and they have the plan, they have all intentions of keeping Mark around for yet another season, I think it's going to come back to absolutely pay dividends for them. Listen to Chris Long on his podcast back in January as a former player, a former defensive end, a former Super Bowl champion, talk about Mark Andrews after what ended up being one of the most consequential drops of his career, if not the most.
Game ended was heartbreaking. I've never felt so empty watching money go into my account. Honestly, I mean, I'm not even being funny or talking about gambling. I'm just telling you, like, I was sitting there and I couldn't even celebrate the way the game ended. Bless you, Bo. Watching Mark Andrews, I mean, the shot of him on the sideline as Buffalo went on that 5-minute drive to make it an 8-point game and kick, which was the right call. Mark Andrews on the sideline, it was excruciating after that fumble, knowing that, like, hey, am I going to get another shot at this thing? And to know that he got his shot in the corner of the end zone by the pylon, and they go to him, they go right back to him, and he drops the ball. I cannot understate when you watch professional athletes. A lot of people say I would trade my situation for Mark Andrews' situation. And I would have said that. I would have said, waking up yesterday, I would have traded my career for Mark Andrews' career. Not anymore. And I'm not trying to be a dickhead. What I'm saying is this is the harsh reality of putting your life's work on display in front of millions of people every time you take the field. Your dream can turn into a nightmare in an instance, and you'll wish you were never there at all. And I'm not trying to overstate the mental toll of being a professional athlete. The reality is there will not be a day. There will be very few days the rest of his life that he won't think about this play. Unless he's wired totally differently. I relive mistakes that I made in my career that were nowhere near as consequential. Opportunity cost type things. Just like, man, if that had happened, I beat myself up over my career. Now, he's had an amazing career, and maybe they get back there. I think they do. I think they'll be right back there next year, because we'll talk about the quarterback in a second. I think he's fantastic. But that is going to torment him for the rest of his life, and that is the cost of being – that's the flip side of the coin. And there's nothing that can undo that. No amount of money, no amount of Pro Bowls, no amount of – that guy's life changed last night in an instant. I'm not trying to be over dramatic about it. And as a player sitting on the couch, I was fucking gutted for the guy.
Chris Long, former NFL defensive end. That was at the end of last year, obviously, right after the divisional round loss. Chris, pretty accomplished player, was drafted by the Rams, the then St. Louis Rams, in 2008 out of Virginia. First-round pick, second overall. Then played for a lone season in New England, won a Super Bowl in 2016, and then went on to win one right before he retired in Philadelphia with Nick Foles and company. So two-time Super Bowl champ, great podcast called Green Light. But I ask you, if you are open to the idea, it sure seems like the Ravens might be based on their messaging from Eric DeCosta, what would you be willing to part with? And what I mean by that is the opposite. Because you're parting with Mark Andrews in this scenario. What would you be a willing recipient of, draft compensation-wise? What do you want in exchange for Mark Andrews? Because to me, there's no guaranteeing that you're going to go find your next Mark Andrews. Now, some of you might be saying to yourself, oh, he's on the roster. it's Isaiah Likely. You might be right. Mark was a third-round pick back in 2018. He's a first-team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, the all-time receiving touchdowns leader, as we just were reminded earlier on in the show, in Ravens history. Lamar Jackson's security blanket, which is probably not something that we're talking about enough. His impact on Lamar and how that factors into this whole equation if you're Eric DeCosta and company. And that's what we're going to talk about in just a second. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. And for multiple years running now, I have been rolling around in my Bobby Baltimore Bronco Sport. It's a 2023 edition. And at Preston, and as a Bobby Baltimore subscriber, you guys got some decent incentives. Maybe some of you live near one of these locations. Maybe you're in Randallstown or in the area. Maybe you're out on the Eastern Shore. Maybe you're in the Annapolis area, wherever you are. Maybe you're in Delaware. Preston is a great option if you're looking for your next ride. They got locations nearby in Aberdeen, Randallstown, all across Delmarva, and they've got the selection and the deals to get you on the road today. They've got over 2,000 vehicles to choose from. You got home delivery available to you and exclusive offers just for my listeners. There's no better time to shop at Preston. $500 towards a new or pre-owned vehicle. If you mention my name when you go into one of the dealerships, it's that simple. Or when you buy 4 tires, you'll get 50% off your alignment. Cars cost less with Preston. Whether you're in Baltimore, Aberdeen, Randallstown, or anywhere on the shore, there is a Preston dealership ready to take care of you. Ford, Hyundai, Nissan, Mazda, and more. Whatever you're looking for, Preston has a location near you. You can visit PrestonMotor.com. Start shopping today. If you click on the link that's included as a pinned comment in the live chat or at the top of the show notes, it'll take you to my unique URL right here. You can chat with Nina, a 24/7 site operator. You can be reminded of the incentives that are available to you as a subscriber that I just mentioned right here. You can contact them by filling out this form rather simply. And maybe the best part of all, they got over 3,700 vehicles. You can go check this available inventory section out and break it down by make, model, keyword based on your preferences, price, vehicle condition, year, make, location. Again, look at all these different locations: Aberdeen, Dover, Georgetown, Delaware, Hurlock, Maryland, Keller, Virginia. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be in the greater Baltimore area. You can be outside of that, which is cool. And I just wanted to say continued thanks to Preston Automotive Group for getting me in my ride, continuing to believe in this channel, continuing to believe in the growth. Shout out Preston. So, what would you be a willing recipient of? What do you want? What is it? Dre Dog wants a 4th-round pick in exchange for Mark Andrews. Oh, it's just V says, I'd be happy with a mid-second round. Not going to lie. I don't know if you're getting that. I don't think so. Chris commenting on my haircut, except there's no date this weekend. I haven't even put my Hinge location in Denver. This is a family weekend, Chris. Hanging out with my sister Tori and her fiance in the Colorado area. Looking forward to that. If you guys have any recommendations, please let me know. Holly says, just demote Tark. Just demote Mark to tight end too. Put Likely in when the key moment of the game matters. See, this is one of Sarah's takes that I don't agree with, and we've gotten into our fair share of back and forths on this. I refuse to live in a world this upcoming season where Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson essentially shy away from using Mark Andrews and completely ignore potential matchups, potential schematic realities, game plan strategies, matchups, so on and so forth, out of fear that Mark Andrews might not be ready to capitalize on his do or die moment. I can't live in that world. And if you want to live in that world, he shouldn't be on your team. That's my thought on it. It's a small sample size of a guy that has consistently come up big in regular season moments that's done the opposite in January. It's a small sample size. You can count on one hand how many times it happened. Unfortunately for Mark, it happened twice in the divisional round in Buffalo. We all watched that play out in an excruciating manner. But if you're starting to live in a world where, again, because you've lost that trust, I don't think that he should be on your team then. And I don't think the Ravens have lost trust in him. We'll see what the rest of the league thinks about him in pretty short amount of time. Because if Eric DeCosta's phone starts ringing and you got tight end needy teams out there that need a security blanket, that need a proven player, that need an above average blocker and a tough nosed guy, that's your guy. That's your man. 89 is your man. But I'm not there yet. I'm pulling the plug when it comes to trust levels with Mark Andrews. Now, to Holly's point, will it happen naturally? Will this demotion happen naturally because Isaiah Likely is knocking on the door and he's the tight end of the future? Do I think Mark Andrews will be on this team this time next year? Probably not. Do I think Isaiah Likely absolutely is a priority to re-sign? For sure. Absolutely. Because it's crazy to think that given what he has put on tape, he's still an untapped player with tremendous amount of upside that they have underutilized due to the amount of weapons that they've had around him, particularly in that in that tight end pass catching room with Mark Andrews, with a Charlie Colar that on any other team is probably an above average or average tight end. But I'm not there yet. I'm not pulling the plug on him. I refuse to live in that world of fear, but I could see a natural progression. Mark kind of taking a back seat just based on play, based on physicality, based on longevity, wear and tear to Isaiah Likely, the tight end future, the future of the tight end position in Baltimore. I could see that happening. I don't think that's a far-fetched type of scenario that could come to fruition at some point this fall. We'll go to the guest lines here in just a second, but before I do, Chris Collingsworth put out his first-round mock draft recently. And Chris has the Ravens going defense. Listen to this.
Overall, Baltimore Ravens, Chris, are on the clock. What are they going to do?
I just kept looking at Mykel Williams and going, he's fallen way too far. And he feels like a Raven.
Yeah.
He's that. You're never going to look at this guy and go, oh, he's not an edge player. He's never going to. He's going to play for 10 years. He's going to beat the crap out of people. He's going to get, whatever number of sacks in a given year. You're never going to go, boy, that was a stupid pick. He could have gone 10 picks higher for me in this draft. And he just felt like when I was like, oh, he's a Raider. I just wrote it down, or not a Raider, a Raven. So, I really liked watching him play. I think he's rock solid. There's some other guys who are sort of those tweeners, that, he's 240 or he's 260, and is he a pass rusher? Is he off the ball? Like, no. Mykel Williams is like Mike Vrabel or somebody. You just put him out there, let him pound on people, and you're always going to be glad he's on your team.
It's funny because the conversation, even during the season, there were times when there were scouts thinking about Williams as like a top 5 prospect. And we've always looked at the metrics and gone, well, he's not that great a pass rusher to be an Abdul Carter type prospect. But it really now it seems like it's flipped the other way. And I agree with this, where it feels like he's a high floor football player instead, right? He's going to be a fantastic run defender. He's a terrific run defender. If you can get him to the point where he gets you 8 to 10 sacks in multiple seasons, then you're talking about an elite, well-rounded player. But I think the vision on Mykel Williams has to be that is we know what we're getting. We're going to keep trying to develop the pass rush arsenal, but especially in run defense, I mean, there's not many better players in this draft.
That part I agree with. And I know one of the things with Baltimore, man, you better set the edge or they're going to kill you up there. Mm-hmm. But he's also a guy that I think could kick down inside on third down.
Yeah.
And so you bring on some specialty pass rusher on the edge, And now you get somebody like Williams playing the 3 technique down there. It just feels like it would be, the kind of player they'd like to have.
The versatility helps a lot. He can play from, you mentioned it, anywhere on the defensive line. And Kirby Smart has those guys doing that down there at Georgia.
I mean, the conversation around him is a lot like Trayvon Walker a few years ago, right? With Trayvon Walker, not a great pass rusher at Georgia, but he's a great run defender. He's a freak athlete, too. I think Mykel Williams, I know he didn't really test much at the Combine or Pro Day that much, but he's a freak out athlete as well. It feels like Mykel Williams is a similar type of player to Trayvon Walker. And Trayvon Walker went number 1 overall. Mykel Williams goes to the Ravens here at number 27.
According to Chris Collingsworth in his latest mock draft. Mykel Williams, let's get a little feature profile going on him. He is Georgia's edge rusher. He's 6'5", 260, 34 3/8 inch arms, 10 1/4 inch hand. The prospect grade at 6.47, projected to become a good starter within 2 years. These are numbers given to you by Next Gen Stats that break down a number of aspects of what he's put on film. The athleticism score is 76. The production score is 68 for a total of 77. That ranks 8th at the Combine among defensive end and edge rushers. In terms of statistics, he was a second-team All-SEC player for Georgia back-to-back seasons. By the way, he was a freshman All-American back in 2022. But last year, he tied for the team lead with 2 forced fumbles, played in 12 games with 6 starts, tallied up 21 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss with 5 sacks, and a pass breakup in there as well. He played through an ankle injury suffered in the season opener and just busted his ass. So perhaps you're getting good value for a player like that should he fall to 27 overall. Overview, again, projected first-round pick here. The NFL comp, according to Lance Zierlein, is Gregory Rousseau. And here's what Lance has to say. An upside prospect with loads of traits. Williams simply needs more snaps and more time to fill out his frame. He's an explosive athlete who uses his exceptional length to keep tackles and tight ends at the end of his punch. He plays a little too tall at the point and needs to get stronger to shed blocks more quickly, but he plays with good physicality in the trenches and is never pushed around. He's still learning moves and counters, but already has a big bull rush, good secondary effort, and the closing burst to become a sack blanket in the pocket. He's not there yet, but Williams' improvement to becoming an impactful 4-3 base feels inevitable, and that's a base end. And what could very well be inevitable if you get him in the same building as Chuck Smith, let Chuck get his hands on him, you know where it's going from there. Because that is exactly what Chuck has done to this outside linebackers room since the moment he showed up. I don't think it's a coincidence that Adafe's had some of his career years. I know he's left you wanting more as a former first-round pick, and I get it. But I don't think it's a coincidence that Adafe's developed with the emergence and just the sheer presence of Chuck Smith as the outside linebackers coach. To the guest lines we go. Dre Dog is out driving right now. Must be after 5 o'clock. You know he's grinding. Great to see you back-to-back days, my friend. What you got going on for me today?
Yo, so the guy we just talked about, being down here and watching SEC football a lot, yo, he is a boxer, bro. Like, his hands are like, he is a legit boxer. You know I love somebody giving a good dog walking. He can dog walk some guys. So I hadn't thought about him, but yo, seeing him down here, seeing him play against South Carolina, yo, he definitely is a boxer. If you go look at some of his tape, watch his hands. Watch his hands. His hands are annoyingly like, yo, I wish this guy stopped punching me, yo. Like, god damn, like, he is a boxer for real.
Let's go watch some of his tape right now. I mean, here he is, Georgia, Texas, getting after it. Watch number 13. Let's watch his hands. You're telling us to watch his hands? Let's watch his hands.
That was a free.
Yeah.
Boxer.
Take a look. Yeah, take a look. I mean, right there on the left-hand side of your screen. I mean, he's just whether it's the usage of the hands or the lateral quickness here, the closing ability, he's got it all. And this is
Pop, see that two-piece? Football. That two-piece right there. Pop, and just got around. Like, get off me. Yeah. Like, he is a boxer, bro. He is a boxer.
This is high leverage football.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about him.
This isn't no joke football here. I'm Saturday football that you would think NFL level. So,
especially in the SEC. especially in the SEC. A very competitive college division.
What else you got for me, brother?
Yo, as far as Mark Andrews, yeah, I say a 4th round pick, not unless we're packaging Mark to, I don't think there's really any other pass rushers we could go at, like at another team. We know we're not going to get Parsons from Dallas. I don't think he's going nowhere. So, like, the fantasy outside linebackers, trade Mark and package a pick and get a pass rusher, I think that's gone. So, man, I say you just I wish you could pull up. I wish I would have sent it to you on Twitter. It's an old breakdown of Mark's stats in the playoffs specifically. I think what a lot of teams are looking at is Mark is that great regular season tight end, but the playoffs, I think a team would consider Mark as we need to get over the hump type of player, right? But his playoff statistics is what hold him down in that 4th or 5th round consideration. If Mark was better in the playoffs, I think teams will be willing to give a 3rd round pick, but his playoff, and for me personally, I'm in Sarah's camp where either you demote Mark for the reasons of not necessarily because you lost faith in him, but let's just put the two parallels together. How well does Mark perform in the playoffs? Not so good. How well does Lamar perform in the playoffs? Not so good. Who's Lamar's favorite target? Mark. So I would like to see Lamar challenged to not utilize Mark so much in the playoffs to see if that that notion of omission by subtraction and then adding addition will help Lamar say, okay, I can't depend on Mark right now because they're not putting him as my primary target. Let me see if I can find another person or make a way for myself. I would like to see that next evolutionary bump in the playoffs for Lamar, because I don't think it's a coincidence that both of them, for lack of a better word, suck when it comes to January football.
You just referenced the postseason woes, and so I had a bookmark from Truth Bearer, actually, who I know is a subscriber of mine and is in the live chat pretty often, but he tallied up a few things here. We're gonna this kind of speaks to what you're getting at. I refer to it as a small sample size, and it is, but it's also reality. Okay.
Yep.
And QB passer rating targeting Mark Andrews is a whopping 111.7 in the regular season, and that plummets. It plummets to 48.9 in the postseason. Now, Truth Bearer looked at a couple other targets, one of which is in Kansas City, which probably shouldn't be for comparison purposes because we all know Travis is on another stratosphere. All due respect to Mark, Travis is on another stratosphere. Likely, look at Isaiah. Again, it's a small sample size. He's only been in the league for a few years, but a regular season QB passer rating of 119.2, that actually goes up a few notches in the postseason to 123.9. Now, Inside Access, 105.7 The Fan here in town, took a look at the Mark Andrews and Lamar connection when it comes to, again, the regular season and the postseason. And yeah, there is a trend, and this is not the trend that you want to see. And I get that. I'm not going to go through every single number. I think the case is closed in a sense. You see what it is on the screen, albeit a small sample size. I think Holly made an interesting point. Maybe this is what you're getting at early on in the live stream. And she said something along the lines of, just demote Mark, right? Have him take a lesser role. I think that can happen naturally. That can be a natural progression this year with Isaiah Likely, given everybody views him, right? There's a universal belief, you would think, within the fan base, I would think within the organization, barring something unforeseen, that he is your tight end of the future. And he will become, if he's not already, a security blanket for Lamar. That can happen naturally. There doesn't have to be a big decision or announcement at some point next season. And guess what? If it does happen naturally, the Ravens will be better for it. Lamar will be better for it. Competition breeds excellence. I would rather that than there being this decisive action taken in the form of an announcement or a press conference or something along those
Right.
lines. To me, that's the best blueprint that could happen for this team moving forward.
Yeah, I don't think we need to announce it, but I do think the Ravens, with the worst thing the Ravens can do with this tight end position is have both Mark and Isaiah just in the middle, just right there in the middle. If you're going to commit to Mark, commit. Let him ride out his last year of his contract with the Ravens. Let him try to break some more records. Let him try to pull you through to get his Super Bowl before he goes on to his next team, right? If you're not going to do that, you got to give it to Isaiah. Isaiah has to be, don't be in the middle. Don't have both of these guys that could potentially get you 500 to 700 yards, both getting 300. We don't want that. We don't want that. Let one of them run the show and the other one be we're talking about a 1A and a 1B situation, not a first string and a second string. We're talking 1A, 1B. Put one of them on the other side of the line and the other side. Put them next to each other. Put one of them out in the slot. Keep them on the field as much as possible if you want. But in those key moments, you have to be decisive in choosing who you are going to move forward with as your number one tight end dog.
I think there's a lot of good points that are being made here. And the bottom line is, what a good problem to have. They have an embarrassment of riches, right?
Yep.
And no matter how you feel about Mark in January, no matter how concerned you might be in those do or die moments when it comes to calling his number 89, the bottom line is they have an embarrassment of riches offensively. And at some point here, the top dog rules the land. Who's that going to be in the tight end room this year? I don't know. If I'm a betting man, go ahead.
Last thing I'll say is, let's not forget, Kadir's still around, right? Quadri Ishmael's son?
Kadir, I need to check on the practice squad. I don't believe he's with the organization anymore.
No? Okay. Because I was going to say, like, if Mark does get traded, having a Isaiah Likely, Colar, and a Kadir as your three tight ends is not a bad look either, in my opinion.
You still there, Dre?
Yeah, I'm still here.
You still got me, Dre? Sorry, I lost you there.
Yeah, I still can hear you. I was saying if Mark does get traded, having a Likely, Colar, and a Kadir as your three tight ends is still not a bad look.
Certainly, especially when Kadir made that transition from wide receiver to tight end seemingly so smooth. I don't believe the practice squad carries over from year to year. I know that for sure. It does not carry over from year to year. And right now, I don't believe Kadir is with the organization. I believe there was an injury settlement at the end of maybe not the end, but at some point down the stretch last year. Let me just Google this real quick to make sure that.
You know, I'm always put you to work real quick, Bobby. When I jump on here, I'm gonna put you to work.
This is good though. This is good because he was placed on injured reserve back in October.
See, I thought they was trying to stash him.
Maybe.
You know,
let's see.
You know the Ravens love stashing guys, so.
And it's funny, Kadri and I've just had such a busy offseason. I really haven't had a chance to catch up with Q, which is very unusual. We usually would have played at least one round of golf by now, so clearly that's long overdue. But what I know is he's not with the organization at the moment. We'll have to see come this summer and come this offseason. Yeah. But I appreciate you, brother. You're looking clean today too, by the way. I'm just checking in on you right now. Too, man. Looking over at my second desktop here. Look at you. You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, man.
Thank you, brother.
Catch up soon, as always. Thank you for calling in, Dre Dog, down there in South Carolina. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. Over 400 concurrents between the Twitter and YouTube space. If you haven't already, I would appreciate it if you like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell. Would also love for you guys to join the Bobby Baltimore Discord server. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. And I love the community that we're building here. There's just constant chatter, whether it's Ravens football in the football chat, whether it's Orioles baseball in the baseball chat, hockey and Caps specifically in the Washington Caps chat. General, we do a little bit of everything. It is free to join. Click on the link that I'm dropping into the chat right now. It's free again. And an awesome space to get together. Alrighty, quick one from me. Gonna do some salmon tonight on the grill with tin foil, by the way. That's a little hint, little trick. Looking forward to that. It's windy. Not sure I'm lighting up a stogie tonight because it is literally a wind tunnel in my back carport here in Canton. Off to Denver tomorrow for Easter weekend. Looking forward to hanging out with my sister and her fiance. And Sarah and I, of course, will be live tomorrow, 12 noon. I'll be live at noon on Friday in Denver, town called Golden, which I'm looking forward to. And then Monday in Colorado. I don't know what she has planned. We might go skiing. We're going to do a lot. Going to fit a lot in, celebrate Easter with she and her fiance, and I'll be catching up with you guys soon here inside the channel. You know how it goes. Please like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group for the opportunity to work with them as a sponsor. All the love they give me and all the support. Much appreciated. Catch up with you guys soon. Later.